Hey guys, today we're going to do a little upgrade on the Gtech A10. I've decided I want to go ahead and put a Micro Swiss plated nozzle on it. Pick this up on Amazon. You can find a link to that in the video description. And then I've also decided to go ahead and give this, what do they call it, Capricorn Bowden tube shot. I also picked this up on Amazon as well. And I've actually never seen one of these in person. Ooh, pretty. Supposed to be a better... Oh, it's a legitimate one too. It's supposed to be a little bit better than the standard tubing. It's not supposed to melt as much at higher temperatures. I believe you can go almost to, I want to say it's like 260 or 280 degrees Celsius. I'll never take it up that high, but I figure when I'm printing at say 210, 212 for a long period of time, that's when I had a little issue with this and had to cut off part of it. I figured this should keep that from happening by going to this. So let's go ahead and get everything all set up here and go ahead and prepare it for removing the nozzle and removing this tube. So first thing I want to do is turn on the printer, heat it up, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, now that everything's all heated up, I went ahead and I removed the filament from the hot end, and I went ahead and clipped the zip ties that were holding this wire onto the Bowden tube. So I want to go ahead and start removing everything. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the nozzle. Now once again, this is very hot, so you want to be sure to handle it with care. I'm using a 7mm socket, and I'm going to use a pair of needle nose pliers. You can use regular pliers, whatever you want to use. Just be very careful not to be really rough with this. You are dealing with wiring. You're also dealing with the thermistor that's inside the hot end, so you just want to be very careful with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grasp it from the corners here where I know that it's going to be safe. I'm going to take and remove the nozzle, and I've got that the wrong direction. There we go. Also make sure that you don't drop anything on the heated bed, or it will damage it. There we go. Once you've gotten it loosened up a few turns, you can actually remove the socket, and providing you do it fairly quickly, you can go ahead and remove the nozzle using just the socket, but as you hold it, the socket will start getting hot. Okay, so once that is out, we're going to go ahead and press down on this fitting up here, and that will allow us to remove the tubing. Now this tubing goes all the way through the hot end, and you can see where it gets very hot, where it changes colors there. That tubing gets hot and it gets really sticky. So that's one thing to remember about your tubing when it's going in there. And then we're going to go ahead and remove that piece there. So this is the piece right here that we want to match. Now I'm looking at this tubing here, and I can see this cut at an angle, and that's not going to be good for us. So first thing I want to do is I want to cut it off even. People are going to tell you don't do it the way I'm doing it. People are going to say use a knife or however you want to do it. I'm not going to take and just really cut it. I'm going to use it more of a scoring action by just twisting the tubing in the jaws here and slowly tightening down the bite on that piece, trying to keep it as straight as I can. And just about got it, I think. There we go. And you see there's a fairly clean cut. Now what you can do is take a piece of filament and run through it just to make sure that it's not too tight, and that's perfectly fine like that. Perfect. And as you can see, it's a whole lot straighter than what it was. Next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and measure off how much of this I want. So keeping in mind that I've already cut off a little bit of it, I'm going to go a little bit longer and drag it along till I hit the end right there. And it doesn't have to be exact. It can be a little bit longer. It can be a hair shorter. You just don't want to do it too short or just too long. And now that we've got a score on it, we should be able to work it. I honestly wouldn't see an issue with just cutting through it, but I know some people say you aren't supposed to do that, but just kind of scoring it and tightening down on the cutters as I'm going. There, good enough. And once again, I'm going to take the filament and run it through the hole just to make sure. Feels pretty good to me. So I'm going to save this back and we'll use this on the A30 at a later time. As soon as I save up enough money to replace that nozzle. Once again, we want to check the end of it, make sure everything looks even, straight, no real burrs or anything on it. And I'm going to pick out the nicest of the two cuts, which will be this one right here, and I'm going to use that for the inside of the hot end. Now, what I'm going to do before I push that in there is I want to take the new nozzle and pull the old one out. Keep in mind it's still going to be hot. Set off to the side there. Take this new Micro Swiss. There we go. I'm just looking at the threads compared to that one. It looks identical to it. So what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to take it, keeping in mind that the hot end is still very hot. I'm going to start that in there a few threads. Make sure that it's got about yay much of a gap where it's not bottomed up against the hot end, because now what we need to do is we need to take and push this in so it'll bottom up against it. So we want to push it all the way in until we know it's hitting that nozzle. And now take our socket. Once again, this is the 7mm socket. I didn't check it. I'm just hoping it fits. Grab hold of our hot end there. And actually, I want to start this by hand a little bit. Make sure it's actually touching that tubing. Yeah, I could feel it tightening up against the tubing before it ever hits the block. You mainly want to hold this heat block because, there we go, you don't want it twisting around in there. The other thing is too, you got to do some pretty good pressure against it in order to make sure that it seals, because that tubing is up against that nozzle and it's got to create that seal. So once that's done, we move this over here, place it into this extruder. It doesn't go very far on that one. Yep, and it bit into it really good. And then I'm going to replace my zip ties. I have a few extras here from another project. Don't want to bite into it too hard, because you don't want to deform that tubing in any way. I don't know exactly how tough this Capricorn tubing is, but don't want to try my luck either. And then another zip tie there. This originally had 2 zip ties. I'm going to put 3 on it. And one thing I learned a long time ago is you want to take and zip tie it in a way where you can remove the tubing. So I can either zip tie it back here on this tubing, or I can try to zip tie it back here onto this piece. But I don't want to do it close to that. I want to leave a little bit of a gap. So I think what I'll do is I'm just going to zip tie it back here a little bit. Right about there. There we go. That should be good like that. So now I'll go ahead and run my filament through it. I like to always cut my filament at an angle, as sharp of an angle as possible. That helps it where it guides through the extruder a little bit easier. Now the only bad thing is with this new tubing is I can't see where the filament is going into it. I just kind of play it by ear. And there we got it extruding. Now this filament likes to be printed at 200 degrees. I've got it 180, so I'm having to push really hard in order to get it through. Not super hard, but you got to put a little bit more pressure to it than usual. So what I'm going to do now is I got to level the bed. So let's go ahead and home it. Just going to go to prepare, auto home. Anytime you do anything with a nozzle, anything to do with your hot end, you always want to be sure to re-level the bed. If you don't, you're going to have a bad day. And even when you home it and you get everything kind of leveled, when you do that very first print on this, sometimes you got to kind of tweak it a little bit. So it's just one of those things where you just kind of take your time with it. So while that is homing, I am looking for a piece of paper that I can use. And right offhand, I'm not finding one, but I did find this cool Dell catalog. Let's see. That's a nice laptop. Nice monitor too. But you know what? I don't have the money for that, so nice piece of paper to do this with. So what I want to do now is just take it, go back over here to prepare, disable steppers. There we go. Now I can move the bed, and I can move the hot end over. That feels actually about right. That feels about right. Oop, let's get it back under there. Even though it feels right on the paper, it's not exactly right when it comes to putting it directly to the bed. Let's just loosen that a little bit. Loosen that just a little bit. Now when I say loosen, I mean tighten the screw, because you're wanting to pull the bed down from the nozzle. And let's go ahead and bring that down just a hair. That feels good. And that's almost as tight as I can get it, but that feels about right. Anytime you just drag it across your bed, you take a chance of scratching the glass like I just did, but that's no big deal. It's going to be just fine. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and start a print, and I'll show you the way before I start any print at all, always do a little bit of rubbing alcohol. It takes all the oils and stuff that could have been from your fingers or from the plastic, and it removes it. I'm mainly going to be printing right in the center of this bed, so I don't need to do the entire bed at the moment. Plus it's really hot. I don't like adding a lot of something flammable to something really hot either. I really recommend doing that when it's a cold bed, but I don't care anymore, so I just do whatever. So we'll go ahead and start a print. And we'll go ahead and cut to a time lapse of this print, but it's going to be a D20 dice for a friend of mine at work. He's really into Dungeons and Dragons, so I told him I'd go ahead and print one of these out for him. I did it 95% infill. I don't like going 100% because it can distort the outside. Giving it just that little bit of air gap on the inside usually makes it print pretty good on the outside. So let's go ahead and print that, and I'll see you at the end of the time lapse. Okay guys, 9 hours, 14 minutes later. That fan is so wore out. This thing actually turned out pretty good. I mean, I knew it was going to be big. Oh my god. I didn't expect it to be that big. I also didn't expect it to be that heavy. I really should weigh this. If I get a chance to weigh it before this video goes out, I'll put a little thing up here in the corner saying how much it weighs. That thing weighs quite a bit. Josh is going to get a kick out of this thing. I mean, it turned out really good. I'm trying to see. There's some little spots here and there, but I think that was from the letters trying to print. Yeah, because that's all coming off. That really turned out pretty good. I've seen the one he has in his hand, or in his pocket, that he always carries around. It's really small. I mainly wanted to print this one so he's got something really big to kind of show off whenever he goes to play with his friends. Oh, he's going to get a kick out of that. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Hey guys, thank you very much for watching this video. When you have a chance, please check out my website, jimmyshawstidbits.com, where you can purchase merchandise through my TeePublic store, as well as check out my Amazon affiliate link as well. Every little bit you purchase that way helps the channel tremendously, and I thank you for it very much. Also, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe, please click on the link over here. And if you'd like to support the channel, please click on my Patreon link over here. Also, if you'd like to watch one of my other videos, please give these a shot. I think you're going to like them. Oh yeah, you're going to like them, especially that one over there. Have a great day. Take care. Bye.